Painful as this is to admit publicly, I have to say it out loud. I was wrong. In this video, I'd like to share with you a very personal story, the lessons I learned from it, and where that realization has taken me. It wasn't a magical in the moment epiphany. It built slowly over time, but when it hit, man, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Stick with me while I set the stage and share the story. Hello, and welcome back to Lessons from the Arena. This is where we share real lessons that I've learned the hard way from spending many years in the arena, not sitting on the sidelines watching the show. Here, I transparently share my experiences so that others aren't forced to repeat the same stupid mistakes that I did. So be sure to subscribe and hit the like button so you won't miss out. In my last video, we talked about why a person gets stuck and how the meaning you assign to certain events shapes your future. These are important points that'll crop up again. If you missed that video, I'll put a link in the description for you. For the first 18 years of my career, I chased success as hard as I possibly could, and by standard comparisons, I was doing everything okay. I was working hard, building businesses, moving up the ladder, taking on more and more responsibility. And from the outside, it looked exactly like what success was supposed to look like. Yet what I failed to realize at the time was that I was chasing the wrong thing. I was just flat out wrong. So let me tell you the story of this realization. 4 decades ago, I began my business career in the commercial printing world. My dad had built his career in that industry, so in my early 20s, he and I started a small printing company together. Turns out this was the first of 10 separate companies I have founded during my career, and you may think I am bragging when you hear me toss that fact out there, but that's not the reason at all. My point is purely to put some credibility into the fact that I'm not just some hotshot who read a bunch of books and is trying to launch a coaching career like some others. I am a guy who has, as the name of the channel implies, actually been in the arena, fighting the hard fights, many times ending up face down in the dirt when the dust settled. So we started that little company in the basement of our house, growing it into a 10-employee, 5,000 square foot printing plant over a 5-year period. Then we started receiving merger offers from other printing firms, so we sold it, and I went to work for a much larger printing company in town. Fast forward several years to my last employer in that industry. I started out in sales, worked my way up, and eventually became the general manager of a 54,000 square foot printing plant. And with 49 employees, that company was at the time somewhere around the fourth or fifth largest commercial printer in Nashville. And I was the highest level employee behind the two owners. I ran that place. Maybe that sounds like really quick progress, but what I just described in just a couple of paragraphs is actually an 18-year career journey. By that point in my career, I developed what I felt was a considerable amount of both reputational excellence and business expertise. And to put it simply, I thought I had the path to success pretty well dialed in. Turns out I was really, really wrong. Back then, it seemed to me that success was a simple formula: produce more, sell more, make more money. These were the things that led to success, or so I believed. Everything else, my time, my health, my spiritual life, my relationships, those things were all secondary. I had totally bought into the belief that if I just pushed harder long enough with enough dedication, that everything would eventually fall into place. And I lived like it too. It's sad to admit it now, but there were many days where I only stopped long enough to eat a single meal all day long because I was constantly in motion. Normally, I was at the plant by 6:30 a.m. and very rarely left before 7 at night, 5, even 6 days a week. I smoked too much too. 3, 4, sometimes 5 cigars a day, pacing that plant floor, mentally and emotionally consumed by workflows, price quotes, deadlines, and how to increase revenue. My mind was constantly racing, always stretching to stay ahead of the next problem, to head it off before it turned into a major crisis. I had two speeds: wide open and full stop. Why? Because in my mind, I was convinced that if I just kept pushing harder, faster, better, more, I'd eventually arrive at the success and the respect that I knew I deserved. Yet it felt like I was climbing a sand hill and I never could figure it out. And then one afternoon, everything came to a head. Picture it. The printing plant is in full motion. It's very noisy. Press is running full speed, people zipping around, product all over the place, deadlines stacked on top of each other, and everything happening all at once. As always, I was the conductor, the literal neck of the funnel. If someone slipped, it was my responsibility to fix it and fix it now. In the middle of all that, my boss, who rarely bothered to venture from his lazy boy desk chair, appeared across the busy plant floor and yelled out saying he needed to see me. In the heat of battle, I did what I always did. I kept moving and I told him, just a second. A few minutes later, he called out again, a little bit louder this time. Just a second, I said, still moving, still solving problems, still meeting everyone's needs. But this time he didn't wait. He stomped across that plant floor, grabbed my arm, spun me around, and started screaming in my face. Not in private, not behind closed doors, in front of everyone. The 30-odd people on the floor at the time froze. Conversation stopped, heads turned. Presses kept running, but the entire room shifted, and in that moment, they weren't watching a disagreement. They were watching a leader, their leader, getting dressed down like a schoolboy who just pulled the chair out from underneath his sister. What he had to say wasn't really important. It was something about time cards. I don't really remember. What was important to him, anyway, was that I had not appropriately responded to his irrational demand for immediate attention. Something happened in that moment that I did not expect. It wasn't anger. It wasn't embarrassment. It was clarity. Like a spotlight had just been flipped on. Standing there in front of everyone, I realized something I had been too busy to see for years. My life was completely and totally out of alignment. How could I have been so wrong? I had spent all of my career chasing money, pushing harder, producing more, putting up with seriously dysfunctional bosses along the way, doing everything I thought success required. And in that moment, I saw it clearly for the very first time. I had built my entire life around the wrong targets. That was the moment I realized I was wrong. It was a major inflection point in my world that I will never, ever forget. Now, here's why this matters to you. That moment wasn't really about what happened. It wasn't about him and it wasn't about the situation. It was about me and the meaning that I chose to assign to it. Just like we talked about in the last video, two people can go through exact same situation and come away with completely different outcomes. That confrontation could have made me bitter. It could have made me defensive. It could have made me angry. And if I had gone that direction in my head, it would have shaped everything that followed. But instead, I stepped back and asked a different question. What is this trying to show me? What do I need to learn from this event? And the answer wasn't an easy one to swallow at all. I realized I wasn't building a life. I was chasing a number. I was focused on the wrong things. Here's what I learned, and you need to hear this clearly because this is critically important. Success is not built by chasing money. If you think it is, then you are dead wrong, just like I was. Success comes only by serving others and helping them get what they want and need out of life. Money, then, is just what shows up when you focus on improving the lives of the people around you. So in that sense, money is nothing more than a scoreboard of how well you are serving others. That's a pretty strong statement, so let that season in your brain for just a minute. You might even want to rewind and listen to that again. Over the past 40 years, building multiple businesses and working with thousands of professionals, I've seen the same pattern over and over and over again. The people who chase money will burn out. The people who focus on serving others build something that lasts. It's called a legacy. See, when you die, all your money is going to go to somebody else, but your legacy lives in your name forever. Most people never question what they're chasing, or worse, they have a moment like the story I just told and choose to just completely blow it off or ignore it. But those moments, the brutally hard ones, that's where your future is decided. That 10 minutes on the plant floor that day didn't change everything overnight, but it did start something incredible. It started a shift in how I thought and how I made decisions, and more importantly, how I defined success. And over the many years since, through many wins and plenty of losses, that lesson has proven itself over and over again. The hard moments are where your future is decided. Lean into them. Sharing these facts is exactly why I wrote my book, Failing My Way to Success, which you can learn more about by hitting this QR code you see right here on the screen. What most people see as failure is usually the thing that's trying to course correct your trajectory. It's the very thing that was sent to you as a correction. You just need to recognize it, embrace it, look for the lesson, don't run from it, internalize it. And once you learn to read those situations the right way, it becomes one of the most valuable tools you can ever encounter. You may realize that you were just as wrong as I was. If all this resonates with you, be sure to subscribe and hit the like button. This message needs to reach people who are chasing something that's never going to give them what they think it will. My goal is to help as many people as possible find that right path. And if you want to go deeper into these concepts or read the complete story I just shared, hit this QR code or visit my website at phillipcantrell.com to learn more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.